Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Kaba Ilco number 7015 GC8-26D. This is a rim cylinder is what it is. This client bought two. They bought them KA2. That means that they're taped together and they're keyed alike when you buy a KA2, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. This is a very typical and common piece of hardware that you're going to find in countless applications, whether it be obviously in a, well, it's a rim cylinder, so anything that requires a rim cylinder, like a rim-mounted night latch or a rim-mounted deadbolt. Lots of people make those types of locks, including Kaba Ilco. A lock body that's mounted on the perimeter of the door will very often use a rim cylinder. An exit device will also use a rim cylinder, a rim exit device, I should say. Exit device trim will often incorporate a rim cylinder. Lots of pieces of equipment can as well, like an alarm bypass switch that you might have in a device that incorporates a paddle and then a box or a head that has electronics in it, an alarm sounder with a power source. To bypass that alarm, you can use a rim cylinder to turn that off. Lots of places that you'd end up seeing a rim cylinder. This is the 7015, and this is actually a discontinued part number by Kaba Ilco, but there are still some in stock, so we're going to make a video of it. 7015 means it's a rim cylinder. It means it's drilled 6 pins, but it's pinned only 5 and will include a 5-pin key. The 7016 would be the same rim cylinder, drilled 6 chambers, but it's pinned 6 and would include a 6-pin cut key. 7015 is more common in my experience, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's more common in your experience or it's what you need. If you need a 6-pin cylinder, you wouldn't, pardon me, a 6-pin key blank to work into your key system, you would sure not want to order a 5-pin, because then you would run the risk of corrupting your key system, meaning having existing keys work in places where they should not work is what I'm driving at. Okay, so then we have GC8. The GC is a reference to the Keyway. It's an odd pair of letters to use to talk about a Sargent compatibility. This Keyway, the broaching in this cylinder plug will accept 3 different Keyways from Sargent, and we'll talk about that. This has a Sargent original look-alike bow on the key blank. It's a 5-pin key. It has RA stamped on it. It's very likely that that is an RA Keyway from Sargent. Now this is a this is a multi-section plug that's here. That means into this you can stick 3 different Sargent Keyways, RA, RB, and RC. But it has to include a particular Keyway on the key, because they don't include multi-section blanks with this, even though the broaching in the plug would permit those 3 different sections to enter it from Sargent. Very typical, common, look-alike Sargent key blank that's here. Now, being a rim cylinder, you will have a trim collar. Not every manufacturer will automatically include a trim collar with the rim cylinder, which is, to me, a bit unusual, because I think every rim cylinder manufacturer should include a collar like this. You're not always going to use one, but you'll almost always, well, you'll often not need one because it's just not required for the application. But if you're doing a rim exit device and you're going to put a rim cylinder there and then a pull handle, yeah, you're going to need a trim collar. Then, being a rim cylinder, they will all include a means by which to install it onto the door. You'll have the retaining plate and the 2 what we would call breakaway screws. That'll go through the plate, and you'll drill an 1.25 inch hole through the door. You'll have to be careful, though, about the center line. The center line of that cylinder is not the center line of that tailpiece, so be mindful of that. There's probably about a 1/4 inch relocation for that. Your template from your exit device will show you the center line of your prep to the center line of the device. There will be an offset. It's probably about a 1/4 inch. Don't quote me, but it's very close to that. This tailpiece, which is the 8 in the part number, gives you the idea that that can be a breakaway or something that you can bend. You're going to want to carefully cut that. And those screws also, you're going to want to carefully trim them, assuming that you'll need to. You will probably need to trim the screws. If you don't have to, then don't bother doing it. When you cut that tailpiece, you're going to want to make sure that you cut it really straight, not bend it or deform it, because that tailpiece needs to rotate right on its vertical axis, right on its pivoting axis, without going through an ellipse, because it will cause the lock, the key to not work the lock very well, is the bottom line. And you'll know that you do that in that sort of instance. Admittedly, I became called away, so I paused this video. I believe we were talking about the 8 in the part number, and that this is a breakaway. You're going to want to cut it straight. You can't damage that, because otherwise it won't work in the lock. You'll end up trying to turn the key, and the key will be very difficult to turn, and you're gonna run the risk of damaging the key. The fact of the matter is, the 8 is this exact bar or connecting bar or tailpiece. I would call it a tailpiece. Some people will call it a connecting bar, something like that, or bar, cylinder bar. It can come in a longer length. That would be a 10 in the part number. Satin chrome. There's a peel-away protective film on the face of this that's covering the satin chrome plated scalp plate. It's a piece of brass, over brass, giving it that finished look. And then the keying comes after that. This happens to be KA2. For every 2 that you order, every multiple of 2, that group of 2 will be keyed alike. So this client has 2 cylinders with 4 keys. They're all keyed alike. Because this is made of brass, very a self-lubricating material, a very smooth operation that you can depend on out of this cylinder, literally for decades. They're very pleasant to key, to work on, to keep in working condition. They are extremely well manufactured and extremely full of value is what I'm driving at. What you pay for a solid brass cylinder from Kaba Ilco. Take a look at buying it an original equipment piece of rim cylinder from your major lock manufacturers. Quite frankly, I'll use Kaba Ilco every chance that I can, and I won't when I can't, meaning Kaba Ilco simply doesn't offer what I need. An example of that would be, in this instance, if they didn't offer me an RA Keyway, but I could get the composite or the multi-section broaching, I may not want that. And the reason I may not want that is because I'm automatically allowing 3 different keyways to enter that plug. That may not be a problem at all. It may not even occur to you. You may not even know that it will take different keyways. Who cares? No one cares. No one knows. It could also be quite the opposite, where you could have an installation where there are specifically 3 different keyways, or a number of different keyways, and there are reasons for doing that. Permitting those different keyways to unintentionally enter the cylinder could be a very bad thing, because of a bona fide reason that you would have different keyways, which has everything to do with extending the quantity of biddings that you have available to you. You could have a project where you need 6,000 biddings, and you're going to use a couple of or 3 different keyways to accomplish that. You wouldn't want the RA. The first floor is the RA, the second floor is RB, the third floor is RC, and you don't want to introduce this into the RA floor on a storage door where supplies are locked up. You don't want someone who works on the second floor to get into that supply store on the first floor. If those are pinned the same, which they could be, but they take different keyways on the first versus the second floor, RA versus RB, both of those keys will pass this. And if they have the same bidding, both of those keys are going to work this. That second floor could get into the first floor cylinder. And while that seems like that would never happen, quite the contrary. It's our job, talking about locksmithing, to make sure that there are no holes anywhere at all. That's the science of locksmithing. That's what makes someone who possesses a locksmith, not me, but someone who makes a living as a locksmith and possesses this knowledge. That's what makes them an integral part of the lock process, because they possess that knowledge. Some of the most famous people that no one has ever heard of I have met in the locksmithing industry. Anyway, so let's switch to the screen view. Let's take a closer look at some of the supporting information. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. let's move on to the rest of the video. Okay, so let's talk about this rim cylinder. Here is the item that we're looking at. Let's take a look at the images that we have uploaded. That's the label. That's what you get in the box. The rim cylinder itself, the face of the rim cylinder, a close-up of the broaching in the cylinder plug itself. Let's take a look at some additional photographs. That's probably not the one we... That's the back side of the cylinder. The two keys. Opposite of the thumb side of the key. That's the thumb side of the key, just showing what it looks like. And then the trim collar and the mounting hardware. All right, extended description information is here. 5-pin, a multiplex sort of broaching, RA through RC. Satin chrome, 1 3/8 to 2 1/4 inch thick doors. Their tail pieces are listed here as well. The 10 would be the other one, but there are other length tail pieces or bars or cams, pardon me, connecting bars. Why you would need that is because you have a thicker door, is the bottom line. There is an application for an alarm lock unit, an alarm bypass, maybe it's the EA500, where you have to cut that tail piece extremely short. So you're going to end up cutting it down almost to the stub. But then you could have a 3.5 inch thick door where you need a longer cam, pardon me, a longer tail piece. I wouldn't call this a cam at all. Now, there is a link below this video here to the manufacturer's page, Kaba Ilco. That's going to allow you to pull up not only all of the Kaba Ilco products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation as seen here, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to lots of product catalogs. When it comes certainly to their key machines, encyclopedic documents are here. There's a link to the brass cylinder manual that's here. And that will allow us to take a look at how we might dissect this part number on this cylinder. This happens to be a rim cylinder. And here we are. So 7015 is the cylinder that we're dealing with. And this catalog does not show that discontinued part number. Let's pull up a prior version. Okay, 7015. The new part number would be 7075, and the change is they've gone to a threaded cap on the back. All right, so here we go. In the first position, 7015, that's a rim cylinder, 5-pin rim cylinder. Okay. Then we have the keyway. Well, down here we can see lots of different keyways. I think what I'll do is I'll hop back to the more modern version of the catalog for the keyways, because it has changed. And we're dealing with an R, what are we dealing with here? With a GC. So the GC is here. That will take RA through RC. You can tell that it looks like an unusual keyway. It does, because it's been milled to accept different key blanks. And we'll talk about those key blanks in a moment. I did a find function on my keyboard for GC, and when you get near the end of the catalog on page 20, it will tell you about the GC. And what I'm driving at is clients will order these rim cylinders, and then they'll say, hey, I need an extra 10 blanks. Set me up with 10 blanks. Here is the key blank that goes with the GC. So the Ilco 1007RA is the blank that comes with this. From the manufacturer's page, if you were to pull up the key blank catalog, and this is about a 500-page affair, we'll do a find function for 1007RA, let that index, and then it will come back with all of the instances where it's found. Well, here's your key blank. It's an RA key blank. That is, this cylinder, if you remember, is a RA through RC. So it will take an RA, an RB, and an RC. If you wanted a single key blank that will pass all of those, in addition to the 7015 GC, you would order the 1007 RD. You don't want to do that unless you need to. which is it's a different conversation of why you don't want to do that. But that's how you find that. But it's matched in the catalog 14 times, and it does primarily in the back of the section as a cross-reference. What is the... let's take a look. We have an Orion number. It'll convert it to an Ilco. We also have Jet to Ilco. So the Jet part number of this, well, that's a bad example because it's not the right key blank. The Dominion part number is 07RA. The Coal part number is, well, again, this O may stand for 6-pin, would be my guess. You know what? I'm quite sure that it does, in fact. Yeah, it does, yeah. So the O in the front just stands for 6-pin. So that Coal part number was S45 to do a 6-pin RA keyway. This catalog is helpful to not only allow you to see key blanks that they have in pretty much their native sort of view, but also the cross-reference documentation as well. Extremely helpful document that key blank catalog can be when you know what you're looking at. And if you don't, reach out to us. I think that covers everything on this page, so let's wrap it up. Let's do that. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. So we've covered this rim cylinder pretty well, though all those other keyways that are also listed in the catalog, if you were to still be looking at that, you will find that they can do these keyways in Arrow, Kwikset, different Schlage material, Lockwood, Weiser, Falcon, Dominion, Lori 80, Lori 90, Schlage Everest as well, though they don't sell the blanks. They can just broach the plug for that. Siegel they can do. Some different Yale versions as well. So if you have a lock, if you have a key, and you have a garden variety key that is North American and probably produced in the last 70 years, meaning it's so common, like that Weiser key blank or a Kwikset or a Russwin D1 for goodness sakes, it's likely that Kaba Ilco will have the cylinder that will take that existing key. Why is that important? Well, because it's a very economical yet high quality way to buy cylinders that will accept your factory original keys. That's the bottom line. There are times when you can't get a Kaba Ilco cylinder to take that key because they just don't make it. I would imagine that there's just simply not enough volume for the factory to justify going into manufacturing to broach plugs for that in terms of a cylinder plug, although they might make the key blank itself. They certainly make a lot of key blanks that they certainly don't have cylinders for. But I'm partial to Kaba Ilco because of that high quality. A fact is that over 30 years there's been exactly one key blank that I knew to be defective from the factory. And plus there's a tech support person at the factory who is extremely helpful, and to him, for that I say thank you. Any questions on the 7015 GC8 and a 26D finish? Again, different finishes as well. I realize now I didn't finish that dissection of the part number. Cylinder type, keyway, finish, you know, your brasses, your bronze, your chromes, your nickels, oil rubbed. Different colors are listed there. And then any keying that you need done. The factory can do it, but we can do that here as well, should that be of interest to you. Again, any questions on the 7015 GC8 or any other Kaba Ilco product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.